In this video we go looking for some scarce regional speciality species, and we have one of the toughest weekends birding we've had so far this year, but do our efforts pay off? Hey folks, it's very dark. We've just arrived at Bempton on the East Riding of Yorkshire. There are hopefully going to be some good spring migrants coming through. We're chancing it a bit, and then tomorrow going well down south to Suffolk. Stick with us. Good. Hopefully should pick some great new birds for our year list. Join us, this should be one big adventure. The next morning we woke up at RSPB Bempton Cliffs. Although the plan wasn't to stick around here too long, it'd be rude to come onto this reserve and not have a quick look around. So whilst Kaylee was getting up and ready, I had a wander down to the cliff top.
Morning folks, it's about 6 AM. I've got out of bed, decided to have a bit of a walk down towards the cliffs.
On the path from the visitor centre to the cliffs, there's some hedges and scrub, and there were plenty of birds singing as it was early in the morning. The first one being this lovely male linnet that was sat singing, and a little bit further up the path a male whitethroat that was in full song. I walked to the end of this path and then on to the cliff top path that looks over the enormous seabird colony. With cliffs at one side and farmland at the other, it's no wonder this is a popular place for birders, and the bird life here does not disappoint. One of the speciality birds here, and also one of my favourites, is the tree sparrow. This bird is red listed and it's had a serious decline. Between 1970 and 2008, the population dropped by 93%. Although recent data shows a slight increase in the population, which is encouraging. I did pass this reed bunting on the way to Staple Nuke Viewpoint. Here I looked over the edge of the viewing platform onto the cliffs, where there was a busy and bustling gannet colony. This species was severely hit by bird flu, so it's nice to see so many here. Bempton Cliffs is the biggest gannet colony in England and one of the biggest in the UK, and with the UK holding 2/3 of the world breeding population of gannets, this site is very important. Although numerous, gannets aren't the only seabirds here. I did see plenty of kittiwakes. This species is in the gull family and does have a declining population and is now red listed. There are plenty of auk species here too, the most obvious being the smart and sleek looking razorbill. As I was looking down admiring all the seabirds flying in and out, some mist rolled in. This made for an extremely surreal looking scene. With seabirds flying in and out of the mist, it was truly an amazing thing to behold. But my time here was done. I had to head back to the car as we had plenty of places to visit and hopefully many birds to find. On the path back to the visitors centre, there was a group of hare that were chasing each other and jumping about in the grass. This was wonderful to watch. I did get delayed slightly as I bumped into one of our subscribers, Russell. We had a long and interesting chat about all things birding, but I did have to get back to Kaylee in the van. Nice to meet you, Russell. As I got to the end of the cliff path, I did notice these kittiwake that were picking grass for nesting, and also this lone stock dove that was sat on the cliff's edge, looking out to sea. It was a lovely but brief visit to Bempton Cliffs. I did see all the birds I expected to see, like gannets and razorbills, guillemots and tree sparrow. I didn't see the puffin, until of course I got back to the car park, but I don't think this counts. As we were about to leave, our parting gift from Bempton was this wonderful barn owl that flew across a field next to the car park. What a lovely sight. Our next stop though was Thornwick Bay.
Hey folks.
Morning.
She's with me. We've heard reports of a redback shrike, which was one of the birds we were hoping to see this weekend. Thornwick Bay area near Flamborough Head. One's been seen down a lane. It's a bit of a walk, but we're heading there now. It might not be the only opportunity today, fingers crossed, but
there's a few up and down the country.
There seems to be a few, so hopefully we'll find this bird.
We walked briskly to where the redback shrike had been seen about half an hour earlier. When we arrived, a lot of other birders were there and turning up as well. Chatting to the other birders, we found out the bird had reasonably recently been seen, but had vanished into some scrub. We searched all the vegetation around for quite a while, with people thinking they've seen it and then losing it. But unfortunately, I only spotted movement that I couldn't say was a shrike or not.
Hey folks, we're at the redback shrike spot, and although we may have seen it, I'm completely convinced. We can't find it yet. There's been a lot of birders here.
We stuck around for a while, but it was a no-show.
Hey folks, at the redback shrike spot, unfortunately we didn't get it. No. There were plenty of birders here. Chances are it may have been spooked by the amount of birders, we don't know.
It's a tourist attraction.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on now and go to Flamborough Head, see if there's anything there.
Before we left, I had a look over the cliffs in the car park. There were plenty more razorbills and guillemots, and also a puffin. But this one wasn't a statue, it was a real one. Our next stop was Flamborough Head. In previous days, this had had quite a few rarities flying in, with multiple redback shrikes, serin, icterine warbler, marsh warbler, just to mention a few. So, being hopeful to at least find a couple, we headed out into the reserve. Our main point of call being a hedge that's on the other side of the lighthouse. This is where a few of the rarities had been shown the previous day, but our bad luck seemed to continue. There was almost no bird sound at all. And the sound we did hear was coming from more common species, like pheasants, dunnocks, plenty of linnets, and a few sedge warbler. Things weren't going well.
Hey folks, we're here at Flamborough Head. Yesterday there was some icterine warbler here, 2 of them, and maybe even another redback shrike. The drawback today is...
If all the birds are gone.
I think all the birds are gone. We've spoken to a few birders that are already here, and nothing's really showing. We're going to carry on, and if we don't find anything here, we're just going to start moving south, like down the country, and see what we can find along the way. Hopefully something a bit more certain, because we've dipped on both things so far today.
With this disappointment, we decided we should probably start heading down south. On the way back to the car, bumping into our friend Russell again, but now we had a long journey down towards Suffolk.
Go on, what happened?
Well, we dipped again there on anything really of any kind of importance. There had been redback shrikes there had been icterine warbler there on previous days, but nothing unfortunately. So we are heading down south, heading towards Suffolk from Yorkshire. So it's a long journey, 5 hours. Hopefully we'll find somewhere to stop on the way to try and find you some birds. Otherwise, we'll see you on the other side in Suffolk.
And although the drive started reasonably well, we hit traffic. There were roadworks and temporary lights and a couple of accidents. I even stopped at one point for a power nap. After a good chunk of the journey, it was dinner time, so we took a short break in Norfolk.
Hey folks, it's been a really rough drive. It's taken us hours and hours and hours to get here. We're not at Suffolk yet. We've taken a stop off at Snettisham in Norfolk. See what we can find here. We've ordered our chippy dinner. We're going to pick it up shortly, and then we're going to head all the way to Suffolk and resume probably either a little later on tonight or tomorrow. We've got a full day tomorrow, so hopefully plenty to see. Stick with us.
We had about half an hour before we had to pick up our chips, so we took a stroll down the path to see what birds were about. With coastal scrub on one side and water and marshes on the other, there was plenty of life, like these social distancing black-headed gulls and a few ducks like this shoveler. This wasn't the only duck species. I did spot these shell duck that were sat on the grass. Before long we spotted this male marsh harrier, which gained everyone's attention, including this grey-lag goose and her goslings. Soon after, the marsh harrier was joined by a female bird which flew right over the path, giving us really close views. These wonderful harriers weren't the only bird that was hunting over these marshes. We got wonderful views of another barn owl, this one coming really close. This small stop off at Snettisham had been the most productive part of the weekend so far. We even had a flyover by 4 spoonbill. Feeling a little more encouraged after our very difficult and frustrated morning, we headed back to our van and the chips, on the way seeing this collared dove on a lamppost. But this isn't the only dove we got a sight of.
Hey folks, we've just been at Snettisham to have our dinner. We had a chippy tea, we had a little walk. We saw some birds, including a flock of 4 spoonbill, which were kind of good. That was ace. Marsh harrier, male and female, hunting separately. Lovely close views of a barn owl, and we hope, we're 90% sure we've got view of a turtle dove as it flew away from us.
It would be very brief.
It's a very brief one, yeah. If it is, I'll just put it up now, and if so, that's another bird for the year list, and the only one today so far.
Notice the small dove second to the left by the wood pigeon, then it flies off. But let's rewind that. If we take a close look and then we pause the video, zoom in and brighten it up a bit, you can tell it's a turtle dove. Although not the best footage, we can count this, and here's a picture from the last time we were here. Finally, a new bird for our year list.
We're going to head now to Suffolk. It might be getting dark when we get there, but if we see anything, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll resume in the morning.
We now drove the following hour and 3/4 to Suffolk and Fredericks Mount.
Hey folks, we made it to Suffolk, finally. It's after 8, it's like 8:30, 8:45 or something maybe now. It's been a long day, we've done a lot of driving, but we've made it. We're keeping an eye out for nightjars. Yeah, we're at a place called Fredericks Mount, where we have seen nightjar in the past.
The only problem is there's a lot of forestry happening. So.
Yeah, they've cut a load of trees down. I don't know if that's going to affect them or not, but as it goes dark, which is going to soon, hopefully we'll start hearing them, and then after that start seeing them, which would be lovely. I'll try and get some kind of footage. Obviously it's going to be difficult in the dark if we do see them, but stick with us, this should be fun, hopefully.
We stood on the edge of the heathland, listened to the distinctive whirring sound of the nightjars, waiting for them to take to the skies. And as it got darker and darker, the odd one took off, letting off a chirping sound. This species is a summer visitor and is nocturnal, only generally seen at dawn and dusk when it takes off hunting for insects. Standing while these silent, surreal hunters feed over our heads was amazing and quite a privilege, and one of the specific species we'd come to Suffolk to find. Things seemed to be looking up, but now it was bedtime. The following morning I woke up early and it was raining. Regardless, I headed out onto Westleton Heath to try and find some of the other species we'd come here to find. These specific species were Dartford warbler, nightingale and stone curlew. And last time we'd seen them all here, so I was feeling pretty confident. Despite the bad weather, there was a few birds about, mainly families of stonechat, and also probably the bird I saw most this weekend, the linnet. After over an hour and no luck, Kaylee joined me and we heard nightingales but couldn't find them.
Hey folks, we're still at the original spot. I got changed because I got soaked through from the rain. The rain's eased off for a bit now. We've heard plenty of nightingale, but just can't get eyes on them. We've also heard a lesser whitethroat, which would be a great bird for the year list if we can get footage of that. We have seen it, but we need to try and get footage of it for you. Stick with us. It's a little bit frustrating, but we'll see how we get on.
We carried on in the on and off rain, often hearing nightingales singing from the middle of trees, like this one that you can hear in the background, but we just couldn't get a sight of them. Although seeing plenty of other spring visitors like this chiffchaff, the lack of footage of the nightingale or the lesser whitethroat was getting really frustrating, so we headed up onto the heath to see if we could find a Dartford warbler.
There she is, the love of my life. We've been chasing after nightingale and lesser whitethroat for, a couple of hours now. We've seen them multiple occasions, but not managed to get footage as yet. So we're going to move on to the heath, see if we can get anything else, possibly Dartford warbler would be nice.
After investing a lot of time in it, probably a few hours, none were to be found. So we had another trick up our sleeve for the Dartford warbler, which was a place called Snape Warren, We'd seen the Dartford Warbler a couple of times here before. We hot-footed it back to the car, passing this carrion crow that was having a preen in a tree, and headed to Snape Warren.
Where are we going?
Oh hey folks, after spending many hours, some in the rain and some in the sun, looking for nightingale and lesser whitethroat, none of which we've managed to get footage for you. So, as rules are rules, we can't count them on our year list.
Even though we've seen them multiple times.
We've seen them, yeah. Which is really frustrating. So, we're heading off now to Snape Warren, which isn't far away, it's only about 15 minutes, to look for Dartford Warbler, because we got footage of them there last time. And then we might come back later to try and have a round two with the nightingale. Stick with us.
After parking up, we wandered through the woodland and onto the heath at Snape Warren, where we'd seen Dartford Warbler previously.
Hey folks, there's a bit of a breeze, but we are at Snape Warren. It's beautiful here, and the sun's come out. Sun's come out as well, which is ace. Still got wet shoes, but still, and wet trousers. Looking for Dartford Warbler. We had a bit of frustrating morning trying to get footage of a nightingale, which we haven't, but we're going to get back to that in a bit. Let's see if we can find a Dartford Warbler and get some footage for you.
With greatly improved weather, we headed along the path to where we'd sighted the Dartford Warbler on our previous visit, being flown over by this buzzard and spotting some more birds that were happily singing away, like this whitethroat that was in the top of a tree, and yes, many more linnets.
Hey folks, this is a really challenging day, and it's probably the most challenging weekend that I can remember birding for trying to get footage of birds. We've been here for about 2 hours, maybe a bit longer, trying to get footage of Dartford Warbler. I got so close, I saw one but didn't quite get the camera to it in time. So we were going to go to Minsmere and have a wander around there, but we've decided our priority is trying to get these specific species that we came here for and try and get footage of them. So we're going to come back here. Oh, here's Kaylee. We're going to come back here after we've had some lunch, and then probably go to back where we were before with the nightingales later to try and get those. Tough day, hey?
Really tough, yeah.
Yeah.
We've walked miles.
We've walked miles. Stick with us.
After a little bit of lunch and a change of footwear, we headed back onto the heath. By this time, it seemed like we'd walked miles and not really accomplished a great deal. Regardless, we remained determined, and en route we saw this kestrel which was being bothered by a rook. The kestrel was soon joined by a buzzard that was being bothered by rooks too. We decided to sit down and hopefully wait for the Dartford Warbler to reappear. Unfortunately though, try as we might, we couldn't get footage of one. It was deeply frustrating. Tired and feeling like luck really wasn't with us, we headed back towards the van. But now we drove back towards Westleton Heath. I'd remembered from our previous visit a potential location to see stone curlew, and luckily this paid off. Scanning some fields, I spotted a stone curlew sat down, and then another one that was stood up wandering around feeding. I presume this was a pair. Regardless, this sight was amazing and really quite relieving after such a hard day with limited results.
Hey folks, we're back not far from Minsmere, and we've actually got some footage of something for the day that we were after. The one that I thought was going to be the hardest to get, which is the stone curlew, or Eurasian thickney, is we've just found it in a field. It's at a distance, but wow, looks ace. There's two of them. There's one that looks like it's sat on a nest, and another one that's raving around.
After walking absolutely miles, finally got it.
We finally got something for you. So great. We're gonna have another go at the other birds before we go to bed, and when we go to bed I think we'll be flat out for about 5 days. Stick with us though. We may find the other birds. If we don't, we're really sorry.
Feeling a little perked up by this sighting and another bird for our year list, we had one last crack at the nightingale before the end of the day. Quite soon finding a tree it was singing from, and eventually after a long wait picking it out amongst the branches and leaves. The footage I've got is blurred and out of focus, but you can see it's a nightingale. And for reference, I've added the footage from the previous year, which was really quite good, and I now consider myself very lucky to be able to get that footage after how difficult it's been this time. But regardless, we've got it, and that's another bird for the year list. And with a little bit of success coming our way, we decided now might be a good time to pop up back onto the heath to see if we can find the Dartford warbler. And as we came out of the woodland with the heath on one side and some fields on another, Kaylee noticed something amazing. More stone curlew, but this time significantly closer. There was a pair in the field not far from the footpath. This amazing species is a spring and summer visitor to the UK and was given its name stone curlew by its call, which is similar to the curlew. In much of the rest of the world, this species is called the Eurasian thickney. It's a very localised species in the UK, breeding in Norfolk, Suffolk and a couple of other areas in southern England. But it's by no means common, with under 400 breeding pairs. It's amber listed but is a Schedule 1 species, which means it's an offence and illegal to deliberately disturb these birds. It was amazing to see them this close and made up for some of the rotten luck we'd had. We carried on though, still looking for the Dartford warbler. As we wandered through the heath, we saw this very pale buzzard sat in a field in the distance, and a family of stonechat, including this youngster that was sat on the wire of a fence. Unfortunately though, it was time to leave as the sun was slowly going down. We headed back past the field with the stone curlew, who saw us and flew off, flying into an adjacent field in the distance. But now we headed to Fredericks Mount. Kaylee's in the van cooking chilli for us for our dinner. We're at Fredericks Mount where we saw the nightjars last night. Hopefully they'll show up again. It's been a hard day, but
And I'm hungry.
and you're hungry and we've all got achy feet, so we're gonna have a chilli. We're gonna have some chilli and chill and get back to it in the morning briefly
Chilli
before we have to
chill,
head home.
that's
It was a pun that, wasn't it? Stay with us. I got up really early and was determined to find the bird we were missing, the Dartford warbler. So I left Kaylee sleeping and headed out onto Westleton Heath once more.
Morning folks, I've come for a little bit of a walk before we have to head off. A last ditch attempt at some of the birds, and I've just finally managed to get Dartford warbler. It's one bit of footage, but it's reasonably nice footage of one sat on the top of some gorse. I am super happy we've managed to get that one. Weirdly and strangely relieved. Anyway, onwards and upwards.
As we had to leave in a couple of hours, I headed back to Kaylee in the van and on to RSPB Minsmere.
Hello there.
Hello.
After a very difficult and frustrating couple of days, we've decided to end on our last couple of hours of this video at RSPB Minsmere. We were hoping to come yesterday, but things kind of ran away with us trying to find all these birds. Yeah. So we've come here for an hour or so before we head home.
We only had a short time here, so we hot-footed it towards the East Hyde, where there's a big gull and tern colony. On the way, we saw these shell ducks sat in a field, but there wasn't much time to stop as our time was short. As we got nearer to the Hyde, I spotted this lovely male reed bunting that was singing at the top of its voice. But now to the Hyde. When we arrived, there seemed to be plenty of birds out in front of us, so we scanned the scene. There was a number of avocets, some quite close, giving us great close-up footage. The most numerous bird here being the very noisy black-headed gull colony. Some here you can see with young. The young are brown and black and very fluffy, looking super cute. The other noisy species that's here breeding is the common tern. There were plenty amongst all the black-headed gulls, some squabbling between each other and some nesting. We did get a lovely view of this one that was sat really close on a wooden post. Excellent. There were some waterfowl here too, including barnacle geese. This species are mainly winter visitors to the UK, with about 300,000 showing up in winter. There are a few small UK breeding populations, including here in Suffolk and some on the south coast, with about 1,450 breeding pairs. These birds here giving us great views and nice photo opportunities. This wasn't the only species of goose. We did spot this Egyptian goose that was having a nap on one of the islands. We left this hide and had a walk down the path back towards the visitors centre, seeing this marsh harrier hunting over the reed beds, and then we walked on towards Bitten Hide, passing this very big caterpillar on the way. When we got to Bitten Hide, it was quite quiet, only seeing birds flying in and out like this mute swan in the distance. And luckily, as the name suggests, we were in Bitten Hide and we spotted a bittern. This one flew across in front of us at quite a distance, but still we had reasonable views and a nice bird to end our trip. But now it was time to head back towards the visitor centre, with this robin giving us a goodbye. Before leaving, we did nip to the cafe at Minsmere and pick up some of their wonderful pastries.
Hey folks, Minsmere was okay. We saw a flying bittern, which was nice. A surprise Egyptian goose that was asleep. Other than that, it was a lot of the normal stuff like common tern and avocets and stuff like that. But it's always a nice reserve. And we picked up some lovely pastries for breakfast, which is excellent. This weekend has been tough.
It's been a really tough weekend.
It's been hard work to try and get everything. Yeah, we've walked well over like 12 miles,
Yeah.
isn't it? A long way trying to find the birds. We've picked up we've got footage of most of the birds. Some of it's not the best, some of it's okay. We had amazing views of stone curlew, best we've had yet, which was stunning. Absolutely love them. But thanks very much for watching. Please like,
Please subscribe,
and please press the notification bell. It helps us out a lot. See you on the next adventure.
bye.
Bye bye.